All right, good evening. So we'll do the whole thing in English. I hope that's not a problem for everybody here. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you in the country. You're welcome to stay, not for long, but it's not full yet. So
Okay.
welcome.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations. Congratulations with the book.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations with the prize. Can you tell me, first of all, it's a debut. It's your first novel.
It is.
It's a big book. And it's a huge, you feel in every page, it's a huge ambition to write this kind of book. And then you get this prize. Do you feel any pressure now for writing the next book?
For writing the next book, none different than from the pressure I would experience from myself in any case. So every book is an undertaking, and yeah, that doesn't change things. I hope.
Okay. Because I saw an interview with you on the website of the European Prize Literature, and you talked about writing this first book and just feeling, being just with the book and just writing this book and not feeling any pressure, just wanting to write something, and then you get this prize. Do you feel like it's called the European Literature Prize? Do you feel it's a European book?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Is it a European book? I mean, of course it is, in the sense that I'm from Slovenia, which is part of Europe, and any book that's written there is a European book by default. And also with the themes and the context that I explore in it, I suppose it does say something about Europe.
In what way? Because you say the themes, and maybe we should talk about first what the book is about. So it's about mostly 3 characters. And if you say it's a European book, it starts in Tokyo.
Yeah.
It starts in the future of Tokyo.
Okay.
Not quite European, to be honest.
Okay.
And
We'll see what the future brings.
All right. I like the idea. I like the idea of moving everything to Tokyo. But so you have these 3 characters. You have a theater director who's working in Tokyo. You have this kind of what you call a pater familias, who is a minister of war.
Used to be.
Used to be, and I'm just a Belgian guy. Is that something that really existed in Slovenia?
No, I mean, I guess it might have at some point existed, like maybe 60, 70 years ago, but not now. Not now.
Okay.
Not for a while.
Okay. And then you have a poet.
Yeah.
You have 3 men.
2 men and a woman. Zoya is a girl.
Oh. Okay, I didn't read it that well then. I'm sorry. I assumed there was a man. I'm not.
Zoya is not a name you're familiar with.
No, not at all. I'm sorry.
So
if you say it's a European book, do you feel that there's a kind of European literary tradition already?
Well, the thing is, I've grown up with the European literary tradition, and the way you said it opens in Tokyo. It kind of is, I guess, European in a sense, to see the whole world, to have that broad view, to be open to what's going on in the whole world, and maybe it should be European, I guess.
Because what I liked about the book is it's kind of, I like first novels. Because what I already said, I like the ambition of a first novel to create this. It's kind of, putting yourself out there as a novelist and just trying to prove yourself how good you are. And that's something you showed with much, in Dutch you say bravoure. It's something, you feel the talent in every page. So, but in a way, it starts as science fiction. So a question I have is about the covers. If I see the original Slovenian cover, it feels sci-fi. It feels like a science fiction book.
Yeah.
And then I see the Dutch translation. You saw the cover already of the Dutch translation, I assume. Do you feel it's suitable for this book, this cover?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it a lot. I like the.
Which one do you prefer?
Well, no one from my
No,
publishing house,
he doesn't
so-
mind. He doesn't mind. He doesn't mind.
No. I really like this one. I really like this one.
Okay.
It had taken me some time to get accustomed to the Slovenian one. I didn't have much say in it, and
So you had options about the cover?
no, I had not. I had my own ideas, but I'm not really professionally trained in design, so
Okay.
they opted not to take them into account. And yeah, they did their own thing, and after a while, I've grown to like it. I mean, it's okay, I guess. But I really like this one. We talked about it before with the translator. There's a passage in the book about I get into a deep philosophical excursion about meaning and how it's made, and it all comes from a cover of a drum. You know, when you tap on the drum, you speak, you give meaning to things, and then as soon as you take the cover of the drum off, the sound evaporates.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the association that I had here. You know, it's the cover of the thing is split, you know, in twain. So even if you wanna drum on it right now, it's not going to be very loud.
Yeah. You said something before we were having dinner. You said about, you know, the translation of the title. The title is Slovenian. If
Yeah.
you turn it around,
Yeah.
it has a different meaning.
Another meaning, yeah, napo, and if you turn it around, it's called pona,
Yeah.
which means full.
Okay.
And that's a like a wordplay that I think you can translate into any other language, in half in, it doesn't mean
Okay.
a whole lot. And tweenin, I don't think it means anything. I don't know though.
It means something. It
Tweeën?
means in half.
Tweenin?
In tweeën.
Yeah, but tween in.
Oei. If you turn it around. Not yet. It does mean something.
Maybe
I'm
it's
sorry.
T.
I'm sorry for our
Twinnings.
language. Someday we'll find a language that suits you,
Yeah.
just for you. But do you consider the book science fiction?
Well, the thing is that with the definition of science fiction, it always comes to my mind to have like spaceships and very advanced technologies and stuff like that going on, which my book lacks,
Not in the beginning.
I guess. Sorry?
Not in the beginning, not in the Tokyo passages.
Well, it's very. Would you consider it very far out there? You know, with all the technology that's happening over there.
I already take some issue with your definition of science fiction,
Okay.
but that's a whole other story.
It is.
You could say as soon as it takes place in the future,
It's science.
it's science fiction. But what I find fascinating with this book and what you've written is something happens in the future. In Dutch it's called the Great Cacophony. I don't know if it's the same in Slovenia.
Yeah. It is.
Okay. And can you explain what the Great Cacophony is?
That does not happen in the future. It happens in the book. It's supposed to begin happening. Well, there's a whole debate about when it started happening. But supposedly with the invention of the internet, when Tim Berners-Lee posted on his Usenet group and at the beginning at 1991. And so that was the beginning of a new phase of communication for humankind on the planet. And this communication in the book supposedly just became so chaotic, so all out there, that all the fixed meanings that we had from the past have begun destabilized, and also aided by groups that had an interest in doing that.
Mhm.
and things had gotten so bad for people who are interested in maintaining fixed meanings in culture and society that it's kind of an ambiguous thing, or maybe they did it on purpose, maybe they just exploited a natural occurring event. And yeah, this communications revolution was brought down.
Okay. And is this a real fear you have?
Well, wouldn't you say it is something that we should be taking into account? I mean, we hear about it every week that the future of the internet is under attack, the freedom of the press and free association and stuff like that. I mean, free communication is really being trying to be taken under control by various, either by
but
economic interests or political
but
interests.
they already said that about other means of communication. They also said that when television came or when radio came.
Well, it's different because either for television and radio, maybe not radio, but they did keep that in check. You need a lot of production financing and stuff like that. It's a big operation, whereas with this personal computer revolution that we had, it's every individual has a great big machine that can, do everything on its own.
Yeah.
And that, like, individuals having so much power, power which can be used also for nefarious purposes, is something that the quote unquote serious people are worried about, and in some cases rightfully so. But that's just the thing. How do you find the balance?
But I find it interesting because I'm almost 10 years older than you, so the whole birth of the internet was something I experienced like really a birth. I was conscious when it happened. So I was raised as a bystander. I was raised in front of a television screen. So I never had the impulse, and I still don't have the impulse to interact with the screen. You are, you're from 86, so internet was a part of growing up. It was there
completely.
And in a way, I find it interesting that it comes with a kind of fear that you have. Maybe fear is not the best word for it.
The thing is that growing up with it, being thrust into these huge, open, unsupervised spaces where, we've learned soon enough that you don't put your identity on it, and you don't put your real life on it. It's always pseudonymously, and it gives you a great amount of freedom. You can play with. I remember talking on chat groups, just assuming different identities, talking to people you never know what's what, who's who, and it's just really a great space of creative play. It was for us growing up, which also brings, I guess, I don't know, maybe some psychologists or whatever would have a more professional opinion on these things, but I'm sure it leaves a mark into how we now experience ourselves in society.
But personally, do you feel like the internet was a big part of how you write or how you interact with people, how you...
Yeah, I suppose so. I think I do have to say it. If every form of communication leaves a mark on our consciousness, then yeah, my consciousness was very much
because you're a writer of fiction in an internet age.
Yeah.
And that's something that also, it's very... my opinion, it's very present in that book.
Yeah.
But you also said in the interview that every generation must have a new definition of literature. That being I don't know if you're the same generation. We it's 10 years between us. I don't know if maybe I'm an old guy for you, and just one of the old ones.
No, that's not so much on age. It's more of the way you think.
Yeah,
now,
I get it, dude. I get it, dude. Yeah, I'm young. Anyway, but you're a writer. You write fiction. You write fiction. You make books in an age where everything is almost for free. Where everything, you have this screen that is your biggest competition. Do you feel like that that as a writer, how do you cope with that?
Well, I just, based on my experiences, as I said, I've been growing up with screens, but I also read an enormous amount. So it was not like I just spent my whole time on the internet. You know, the books were still something far more, you know, engaging, far more full to the experience is so much better in books. So in that case, I assume that there will always be people who will search for the fullness, the richness of the sensory, emotional, and rational experiences that only books can provide. As for the business aspect, I'm not in the publishing business as of
Thank
now.
God.
So yeah, I'm sure it must be tough. With things developing the way they are, but hopefully bookstores like these will remain for a very, very long time, even with whatever happens with the computers.
But you don't feel like you have to take a stand against internet?
Again, I mean, if we're about books, if we're about literature, if we're about expression and communication, how do we take a stand against a great tool of communication? You know, things have to be taken into account. They have to be adapted, and I mean, it's just the way it's going to be.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to talk about myself too much because, you know, I don't like that. But in a way, personally, I find like putting little bits of knowledge in a book is kind of passé, but that's personal opinion. If you have the internet, if you have things like Wikipedia, every bit of knowledge is out there. You cannot have a book with, you know, little bit of facts. And although I was raised with books, with facts, I got my facts from books, and now this kind of
still,
changed.
that's just the thing. I always, in all my interviews, I always get back to this John Berger fellow, the ways of seeing thing, where the nature of the artwork changed. You know, age of mechanical reproduction, post Benjamin, and stuff like that. And maybe the nature of the fact has changed now. You know, everything is out there, but how do you get it? You know, it's if you're once they had the encyclopedia, you know, and they put everything A to Z, and that also made a change in the way our society thinks about itself. And then came the freedom of the internet, where everything was just, you know, just floating around up for every individual to discover. You know, people go on Wikipedia and do the random articles, just go into it and wherever it leads them, and that also changes the way you see the world. And in that sense, a novel or a work of literature is a way of structuring facts that might have something of I don't know, the reader might be interested in how a certain author structures the facts in his own way. You know, the framework that he proposes is maybe interesting to him. You know, and maybe that's something that should be thought of more or looked into. I just was thinking about it now, because in Half there is a bunch of, you know, and I always assumed it was me playing with the destabilized nature of how facts are served to us. But maybe that's the thing, you know, we still have an author and we still have a book, and that's still an enclosed space and a universe in itself, and that maybe brings us some sense of closure, sense of totality that we lack in the world.
Okay. And of the three characters, do you consider one of the three a kind of representation of yourself?
No, I wouldn't. No, I mean, they certainly there's aspects of me and the people I know, maybe embellished, maybe, you know, put into a different context, stuff like that, of course. But generally, I feel I'm pretty rough on the characters, or maybe the characters that I've created are a way for me to relate to or confront different aspects of the good and bad that I see in the world and in myself.
Okay. Well, the book is now 4 years old, I
Yeah.
assume. You're still talking about this book?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's the thing. It was 25 years in the future, so maybe I'll do that for the next 25 years and just keep it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal that idea. That's but so now looking back at this book you wrote 4 years ago, you want to change something, knowing that it becomes a kind of European thing. Do you feel like coming from Slovenia, it's a country we don't know that much about. It doesn't come up in our top 10 list of most exotic places we want to visit sometime. And that's not a criticism.
I know, it's just the thing. I do understand that maybe my novel is not the best of representations of my country. And because, as I said, the global network was with me, and the global literature and everything you could ever want was, in my reach. So, but that also speaks to what we're experiencing right now, the national cultures, how do we deal with this? That was also the very much behind the idea of the Great Cacophony, I find myself in a situation where I'm a Slovenian author, I'm writing in a Slovenian language, but the ideas that I'm in contact with are not necessarily just, Slovenian.
Yeah.
But on the next level, right now, if everybody is in the same situation, then maybe it is so, maybe this is what it means to be a Slovenian, a Belgian, a European now, to be, open, to be in contact with.
So you feel now you're having a European audience, or you have to appeal to a European reader?
It's hard for me. I get hung up on identities. I would just like to be to address a reader that's interested in literature, in a good work, someone to take the book home and just enjoy it. That would be the ideal reader, and then addressing European. I don't know. I hope so.
Okay.
Also.
And now you're in Brussels.
Yeah.
Quite European.
Quite so.
Quite. And I also read your interview in Brus. It said you liked cities.
Mm-hmm.
What you think about Brussels?
It's an amazing city. It is. The thing is, this nature of you never know where's who from. There's so many different nationalities, and besides, I'm used to like maybe New York and cities like with a very multicultural character, but here I think it's even more pronounced. It's even more, and also with the politics and stuff like that. It's very, very intense. Very.
How do you feel your days now you're here in Brussels? It's.
Well,
you wander a lot. You wander off a lot.
A bit too much, I think. I should be. The thing is with the residency. The point is that I get some quiet time to do my writing and just. But I'm here experiencing it because it's an opportunity that comes, I think, once in a lifetime. So yeah, I'm experiencing it, and then Brussels will now, be a part
of the way you write.
The way I think about things, of course.
Okay. Is this the first time you have a residency in another city?
I had a residency in Ventspils in Latvia, which was more in tune with the idea of a quiet, nice time to do some writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're writing now also?
I am.
And what are you writing?
I should be writing a book of essays, but I'm kind of just juggling with the ideas, and talks like these always give me ammunition to develop further. I think a bunch of new ideas come up. Other than that, these impressions and everything that comes to me is just for now better suited for poetry. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I just like write a poem.
Nothing wrong with poetry.
Okay. You like it?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying nothing wrong with poetry.
Okay.
But also, I'm not an interviewer. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, you're doing fine.
But I find it also difficult to talk with writers about writing. I don't know, it's like we all have our own, thing. And but in a way, I'm always looking for a tip. I always want a kind of strategy of how to write. How, for instance, the characters. I know it's 4 years ago, but why these characters?
No idea, to be honest. Now it's they. That's the thing. How you've done literature as well. How do you get your characters? It's
well, I like contrasts.
Yeah.
I like,
Okay.
if you have that one, you need,
Something.
the opposition of that.
Yeah.
But you have 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But there's also, choose two, or
I
the
know.
oppositions.
I read the books also.
Okay.
But, in a bit we'll read out
Okay.
the books also. But I also want to ask about the way you structured the book. It's for every character and for every part of the book, you have a different way of writing. It's like, the first one in Tokyo, it's very staccato, it's very short synthesis. And then when it comes to Abraham, it's much more eloquent and stuff like that. So is that how you started writing? Is that you started in Tokyo and then you saw where it went and then Abraham just came along? Or you always knew it's going to be about 3 characters?
I always knew it was going to be 3 settings. I think the settings are the characters. I can't even remember now anymore. But the thing is, I just wanted.
You need to remember you're here.
I wanted to do a huge canvas. Like I wanted to have freedom to really play with different styles and different settings and different characters, and that's why I did this choice, because I wanted to see. What can I do? Where am I good at? As you said at the beginning, the writer wants to, for the debut, just say as much as he possibly can, because maybe you won't write another book, So it's just to see where you're good at, to see what you can best explore, to see how things work out for you, just to have like a huge learning experience for yourself, which I think also then works for the reader, if you're both in a kind of, whoa, where's this going, I think that's something that interested me as a reader, so I tried to do that as well.
Okay. Let's read some passages.
Okay.
You have...
I'm going to read in Slovenian, and you're going to read in...
I don't know.
Flemish.
In Dutch. So
Is
you're starting with... Zoja.
Ja.
Take your time.
Zoje še ni. Caveman Collective stojijo v krogu, ovešeni z ustrojenimi kožami. Ko mrmrajo poslovilno pesem soncu, se jim po telesih z blatnim vonjem lije pot. Dvojčka medijo drug drugemu dopolnjujeta stavke popolnoma brez smisla. Kot bi bilo, se je nekam izgubil. Nekdo zelo neprijeten prodaja sintetične droge in ljudem usikajo, naj se pobere, od koder je prišel. Max postaja rahlo nervozen. Ko pade noč, bodo šli ljudje v notranjost in prižgati bo moral luči. Kitarist ne utihne. Nekdo je prišel do roba. Nekdo drug izgleda tako grozno osamljen. V zraku je upanje, prvobit, počelo, prarok. V zraku je strast. Kultura slave je zdrava in v polnem razmahu. Brezimeni ljudje so fuge med ploščicami zvezd, pa jih to ne moti niti približno. Veseli so, da se smejo držati stvari skupaj, da vmes ni razpok, da je pokrajina razgibana, da nihče ni pozabljen. Nekdo se je prijel za prsni koš v predstavi presenečenja in nekdo drug je dal roke v aplavz. Po robovih parkirišča šine kot požar v suhi travi. Vrsta pred vhodom se vije v človeški kači levo in desno, Glave se obračajo proti izviru aplavza in čeprav ne vejo točno zakaj, samodejno pričnejo ploskati še same. Rade jo imajo. Radi jo imajo. Rado. Ona. V stožcu svetlobe.
Juist daarbij. Zo ja is er nog niet. De mensen van het caveman collectief staan in een kring, behangen met geglooide huiden. Als ze hun afscheidslied aan de zon zingen, druipt er naar modder ruikende zweet langs hun lichaam. De medio-twins vullen elkaars zinnen aan. Volkomen stomzinnig. Meneer, zo gezegd, is verdwenen. Een uiterst onguur type probeert synthetische drugs te verkopen en de mensen sissen hem toe dat hij op moet rotten, daar waar hij vandaan komt. Max wordt een beetje nerveus. Als het straks donker wordt, gaan de mensen naar binnen en zal hij het licht aan moeten doen. De gitarist speelt door. Iedereen gaat tot het uiterste. Iemand anders ziet er verschrikkelijk eenzaam uit. Er hangt hoop in de lucht. Primair principe pre-profeet. En ook hartstocht. De sterrencultuur toont zich vitaal en de viering is in volle gang. De beroemdheden zijn als tegels waartussen hun naamloze bewonderaars de voegen vormen. Wat ze met graagte doen, zeker weten. Ze zijn blij dat ze alles bijeen mogen houden, dat er geen kieren zijn, dat de hele omgeving in een roes van opwinding verkeert, dat niemand wordt vergeten. Iemand grijpt alsof hij schrikt, demonstratief naar zijn borst om zijn verrassing te tonen. Iemand anders begint te applaudisseren. Het geluid schiet langs de randen van het parkeerterrein en als een brand door droog gras. De rij voor de ingang kronkelt als een menselijke slang naar links en naar rechts. De hoofden draaien in de richting waar het applaus vandaan komt. En ook al weet niemand precies waarom, ze beginnen spontaan mee te applaudisseren. Alle vrouwen houden van haar. En alle mannen houden van haar. Daar is zij in een zuil van licht. Was that okay? Was that the way to read it?
That's the way you read it. That's great. Thank you.
Great?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just doing my best. Because is this weird?
Why?
Well, you know, the whole translation thing, you not knowing.
First of all, I don't even understand it, so I mean, I know what it talks about, but so I'm of course glad for the passion. Thank you.
Okay. Shall we do another one? Because I get the hang of it.
Okay, maybe it will be different. So we'll see.
I'll do it less passionate.
No, you can do it passionate. It's okay. Do we do this one?
Which one? Yeah, I'll get it.
I think you had it before.
Yeah.
Okay. Posameznik propade, ker ni sam. Mnem občutek je kot fotografija neznosno lepe pokrajine. Sonce zahaja na obzorju temno-zelene plošče dreves in meče rožnato luč na pečine ostrega kamna. V skalo je vrezan slap, na pršu kapljic pridih mavrice. Iz zemlje se dviga črna korenina, na kateri sedi barvit ptič in si s kljunom čisti krilo. Podoba je zamrznjena, nič se ne premakne. Posrkate vase in zmrznen si z njo v čistem obstoju. Tako lepo je, hotel bi, da traja. Toda le dokler si zazrt v podobo. Če bi bil tam, če bi bil zares tam s telesom, bi ti že preprosto minevanje časa občutek razbilo. Telo zahteva pozornost. Čevlje imaš premočene, oster hlad špika v konice nožnih prstov in prepoten si. Srajca se ti je prilepila pod pazduho in hladen veter ti stiska zrak iz pljuč. Iz nosu ti teče in volnen pulover te bode v zapestja. Mravlje ti lezejo pod hlače, srbeči v ščipi njihovih nožic te spravljajo pamet. Mišice te skelijo. Izmenično ti je vroče in na nekaterih mestih te zebe in vsa lepota tistega prizora je tam le za begoten trenutek, preden postane samo še en spregledan dokaz, da zavest ni bila ustvarjena zate.
Het individu gaat verloren, want het is niet alleen. Een memo-ervaring is als een foto van een onvoorstelbaar mooi landschap. De zon verdwijnt achter de rand van een donkergroen bos en werpt een roze schijnsel op een rotswand met daarboven scherpe pieken. Door de rotsen heeft zich een waterval ingesneden en er hangt een wolk van ragfijne waterdruppeltjes, waarin vaag een regenboom schemert. Uit de grond steekt een wortel omhoog, waarop een bontgekleurde vogel zit die zijn vleugels poetst. Het is een bevroren beeld, niets verroert zich. Het landschap neemt je in zich op, zodat je zelf ook bevriest en roerloos blijft staan. Zo mooi is het. Je zou willen dat het zo bleef, zolang dat je er tenminste naar kijkt. En als je daar zelf was, ik bedoel, als je daar echt zelf was, met heel je lichaam, zou die sensatie al door het simpele verstrijken van de tijd worden verstoord. Sorry. Je lichaam vraagt om aandacht. Je schoenen zijn doorweekt. De snijdende kou trekt in je tenen. Je bent bezweet. Je hemd plakt aan je lijf. En een koude wind perst de lucht uit je longen. Je hebt een loopneus en je wollen trui kriebelt. De mieren kruipen in je broek. En je wordt gek van hun friemelende pootjes. Je spieren doen zeer. Je hebt het soms warm en dan weer ijskoud. En de hele schoonheid van het beeld duurt slechts een vluchtig moment voordat het overgaat in het zoveelste bewijs dat het bewustzijn niet voor jou is geschapen.
Thank
Ja,
you.
hè? Ja?
Thank you.
I did write it. It's your thing. It's
You
your
read
thing.
it. Great. Thank you.
Do you miss it? Do you miss, it's a debut? Do you miss that period of just writing on this book without any expectation around, just you and...
Yeah, that's a nice thought. Yeah, I do actually. It was very, very, very cool to just be, like nobody. I'm a writer. You say it to yourself, and you go and you bang the computer, and it's you don't know what's going to happen with this. You don't know whether anybody's going to be interested in any way, and it's just a feeling of profound freedom. Yeah, which I miss. I do.
And it's a freedom you don't feel right now, or?
Well, obviously, in this sense where I have to talk about what I've done, it's
4 years ago.
Yeah, it's not the freest of experiences, but I also feel that I have a responsibility to the work and to the work I've done that 4 years ago to stick with it,
Okay.
to not just say, oh, this.
But do you wish it's maybe it's not meant to be a mean question, but do you wish it was another book of you that made this transition to a bigger audience, or do you feel like it had to be that book as an introduction?
Well, I have 2 books, so if you're asking me whether I think that the other book would be better for this,
But it could be too soon. Again, it's not a mean question. Yeah, it's not putting you down, but
true. I understand the
Okay.
even from a writer's standpoint. That's the thing, it's a debut novel. I don't have a privileged view into alternative dimensions where I'm writing for 20 years and then my 5th novel becomes like a global hit or something.
Okay.
This is I just try to make the best of this really glorious situation. I'm really happy for that this is here in front of me and that I'm here and that in this situation from a personal standpoint. As for the artistic side, I have no experience difference to relate it to. So hopefully this will give me the energy and the drive of somehow to continue working to the best of my abilities.
Okay. And now I'll do a segue.
Okay.
Now you have the drive and energy to write poetry.
Uh-huh.
And you wrote some poetry.
Yeah, I did, but now I'm kind of getting a bit nervous.
About the poetry?
Yeah.
Never get nervous about poetry.
Okay.
That's the first rule of poetry.
Okay.
Never be nervous about poetry.
Okay.
I'm not going to read it for you.
Do you want to hear it?
If I want to hear it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Just ignore the rest.
Okay.
They just paid to get here.
I'm I'm going to write to you a poem that I've written here in the residency. It's got the title Bruce Lee. Be like water, he said. Change your shape, align to the elements and flow. A necessity in Brussels where all manners of intention and ways of life collide and coexist. There is this vibrant tension in an act of walking through the door, any door, drawing apart the curtains, taking the metro, the train, walking barefoot in the park. And when it gets dark, the flickering of lights reminds me of a certain dream I've hoped to share with all that is alive and love with being. Walking around, Halleport or Portugal, Zout or Midi Station, Port de Namur or Namzeport, always in two places at once, double exposure. Be like water, I was told, and like water I hoped to give life to all that is holy and pure, but also to things imperfect, since what is there holy and pure in Brussels? The little peeing angel held captive by a million photographers' lenses, the grass in the park where we exchange a million glints of sunlight, the sleeping beggar, the living statue, the millions of politicians' many-colored ties. Or maybe elsewhere in Belgium there is some innocence. The horizon in the Han bends like a teardrop, and a child on a tricycle is blameless for all its parents' faults. And what of the lamb in Ghent? The artist would like us to experience purity, but is the artist pure? Or is he, like all of us, hungry, angry, racked by ambition and lust, all things of the body, all stains of the mind? And he speaks to us of a certain desire to forgo his humanity and escape the prison of elements, which is why, when we open our eyes, we gasp and really know beauty. Double exposure to what is and to what is behind it, to beauty and to what is inside it, to pain and to what is all around it, always in two places at once. Was it in Antwerp or in Antwerpen where I laid my hand on my one true love instead of throwing it at the nasty, brutish giant coming to tear us apart? Or maybe I did both things, trusting the power of love to cleanse the world of its monsters. But does the artist know love? Or is he just using the words to conceal his weakness, cowardice, distrust of all things worthy of being loved, of showing his heart, but calling it pride and dancing with the crowd late into the Brussels night? A true love would be holding on to a single body, a single heart, a single mind in just one place, of a single name, being like fire, a single ray of the sun, piercing one skin and finding nothing but love beneath the surface. But I must be like water. I must change my shape, align to the elements and flow, explore and exploit the collisions of the double exposure, to what isn't anymore and all that it could be, to love in our mortal fear of loving, to who we are and who we could never be, walking, waking, two worlds at once. Do you understand me, Brussels? Do you feel this twin lands you inhabit? All of the spaces in between, dusk, the morning aurora, the edges of shades and shadows, the border of the rainbow where sunlight disperses into rain, the leaning into a good night's kiss, the slight hesitation before getting up from bed, standing in the doorway with nothing to hold on to, forgetting something maybe trivial, maybe crucial, but not turning around because, well, anyway. There are two suns in our sky, the one rising in the morning and the one hidden behind clouds. Two moons at night, one silver, the other black. Two skies, two nights, two of everything, one you see and one you feel, one you know about and one you care about. Two yous, one yours, one mine. And in between Brussels and Brussels, what is there? A city of concrete and stone and brick, some trees, some window panes, a bit of Europe, a bit of Congo, a rich vein of chocolate, a golden coast of humanity standing at the edge of some vast and unrecognizable dream. Is there a politics to the way the stones are arranged? An economy behind the map of the metro, a philosophy of staircases, elevators, and scaffolding, a whole cosmogony in the flickering of traffic lights? How could I hope to have understood you in a glance, a brief descent down your streets? But it is not about understanding, it is about the belief that we all can exist in two places at once, survive and even thrive in the double exposure. You make it seem possible, and you make it seem necessary. As necessary as a life wide open to all its possibilities, as possible as a life worthy of being lived. So what if we, you and me, don't sit on the balcony every night smoking and sipping beer, watching twin streets of Jean Valderslaan and Avenue Jean Valder move below us in time as a giant spinning wheel, rolled by all who claim its space as their own? And so what if we don't know or forget who Jean Valder's was? We are each entitled to think of him in our own way. You knew him once, but to me he will be forever a stranger, as I will become like water and spill off the balcony as a refreshing summer rain, and gather in the cracks of the asphalt for a tiniest moment in time as the purest of all surfaces, reflecting completely the entirety of what there is, and then disappearing and leaving the mirror image of Brussels behind. Be like water, Brussels. Change your shape, align to the elements and flow. Flow through adversity even though it makes you wise, not rich, and you prefer riches to wisdom. A golden brick to a golden dream. But now we know there's always one within the other, and you can always have both at once, if you're willing to withstand the double exposure. Remain in two places at once, and not try to silence the other, or pretend you are just one. For how could you? A true love is not for us who flow against time, resolute in our displacements, convinced of our dualities, facing the past with the same unwavering gaze that glimpses the future in all its manifold strands, or should I say streams. Oh, but now the sun is beating down on us, and what shall become of the shadows we leave behind? Will they escape us, transform us, complete us into a true dual version of ourselves? Or will we in the end be able to accept that the light that comes from our eyes makes us translucent, clear as water, and that the rays of sun which pierce us leave no shadow in our wake? Thank you for listening to this. Thank you.
You feel comfortable writing in English?
I do. It was, I think it was comfortable.
Okay.
You know, I get into a different city, I use English all the time, and then at a certain point I can just express what happened to me in English, the easiest.
You feel like a different person now being out here?
Double exposure, just one, it's all flow.
I have one more question, and then we'll have the audience ask some questions. What's the difference between the idea you have of Brussels before you came here and now being here? What's the big difference?
Well, hard to think of something interesting to think of. I've been here before last year for the EU Prize, and I've gotten the feel of it just walking through the street. It was very much. I think I didn't know it would be so preoccupied with time. Yeah.
What?
I don't know. Time is on everybody's mind, I think.
We got stuff to do, yeah.
Yeah. Not us free artists, just flowing about.
No, I'm just asking. It's maybe it's something too close to me, but sometimes you can feel that double identity of being the European capital and still being this kind of ancient, old, almost like a village, Brussels, and these two identities. And I can imagine, you coming from Slovenia, the word Brussels itself is already a problematic word sometimes, especially now, how Brussels is conceived politically. And how to live in a place that is already problematic. So, but I was just...
I picked up on this dichotomy that is all around, but I find I like it. I mean, as I said, it's a vibrant, it creates a vibrant tension, a creativity that bursts from these collisions, conflicts.
But you're going back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then what?
I don't know.
That's it?
What do you expect me to say? I'm gonna go with my friends and go to the sea, enjoy a bit. What, do you have a better idea?
No, you had the hang of it. You're some kind of rock and roll writer, just going around the world now and being this big shot writer.
I'll think about it.
Okay. Kind of depressing ending.
You haven't seen it yet, so
No.
I don't know.
All right, questions from the lovely, lovely audience. For him, not me. Just. Yeah.
Okay, so I haven't had the chance to read the book because I don't understand Slovenian very well, nor Flemish.
Okay.
But I'm waiting for translation. So just Napol, is this the gap between, because I understand that these characters used to know each other somehow in the past, but do we actually see, I mean, is this what the title is about, this gap that is between the past?
Also, that's why I chose it. It's very rich for meaning, also for me personally, and in many cases also speaks to this, existential isolation, and also to the fact that the setting of the novel is so cut up, and also to the fact that these three characters used to know each other, but have found themselves in a situation where they have no contact anymore. Yeah. Which is also, for me, who I have close friends, and it would be a terrible thing for me to know that in 25 years I would not be friends with them anymore, Yeah. That was one of the ideas behind the title,
If I may also, from the Slovenian embassy, first of all, I'd like to congratulate my compatriot for this work, and I would also like to mention that we have another poet here, that is Sharna. And also I would like to say that last month we also had another translation into Dutch language from another Slovenian poet. So those that don't know Slovenia, what you have learned now is that we have a lot of poets, and that in Slovenia culture is very important. And my question for you would be, because now we are speaking about this Dutch translation, can you tell us more about why Dutch language, how does it work, who was the contact? So
I'm
give us
not
the story about...
the right address for that question, maybe.
Who can tell us?
I'm sorry.
Well, I was asked a year ago to be ready to translate this work by jasmin frelih, and when all formalities were done in connection with the European Literature Prize, financing and so on, well, I happened to be the first person to translate this work into Dutch and into any other language than Slovene. So that is quite an accident. Maybe in some other cases, Slovenian works have already been translated in German by Klaus and Olaf, or into English. But in this one, I was the first. There's also a special plan behind it, but it just happened this way.
Does that answer your question?
Well, from our point of view, for instance, from the diplomatic point of view, it's very interesting because we used to have in the past always translations to languages like German or, the countries that were very close to Slovenia. Now we are seeing that we have more and more, may I say, even exotic translations, because now we are speaking about two small countries, two languages that are limited. So for us, it's something very interesting. We were in Poeziecentrum last month and we were speaking exactly about this topic. You know, when they were choosing why to translate it to Dutch language, this was one of the criteria. We were speaking about Europe, about you have a European book, European perspective, how to bring, you know, from one language, from one dimension to the other, and that it wouldn't be framed only into those languages that we are used to. In Slovenia, this would be mainly German or maybe English, but to go into complete other direction. In this context, I can also mention that in Ghent, for instance, we have a lectorate of Slovenian language, so we have quite a lot of Belgian students each year that are learning Slovenian language, and they also work like translator. I think we have also another former student here, for instance. So a lot of them working with translation, with Dutch language. So I'm looking forward to seeing 10, 15 years, you know, what will happen. Because you're not the only one that was translated now. So
You're not
you
the
know,
only
this
one.
is really nice. And you should get
That's
together,
great.
all of you. Yeah.
Did he already get a medal?
Well, you should consider that.
Yeah, or a statue. But,
Well, the main square in Slovenia is dedicated to a poet, to Prešeren, and we are the only country to have a national holiday that is the Day of Culture. So he's in the right country for that.
Very much so.
but are there also things organized in Holland for this book?
No,
No, no, I don't know.
no, yeah, no. I'm from the publishing house, and of course, it helps hugely when a European prize like Jasmin 1 is behind everything that's organized. Because at the publishing house, of course, we get thousands of books sent to us every year, and it's impossible to choose. We need scouts, we need agents, we need other publishers to work with. Small languages have a double problem, of course, because we're not able to read the language, and they don't get across that easy. That's why this EU prize helps enormously, of course. And that helps us also with Turkish writers, with Bulgarian, Albanian, who has translated a lot for us. So we also built a small circle, it's a small circle still, of people who are interested in these new books. And what strikes me is that a lot of the new books coming from the eastern part of Europe are so experimental. They dare a lot. You know, it's not mainstream plot-driven, normal way of telling a story. It's a total, for us, total new way of telling stories. And that's what I find really interesting, I think. Maybe that's your question.
Maybe
Yeah, of course.
Make the circle round. Because now we talked with the diplomacy, with the writer, the translator, and the publisher, and I'm the reviewer. I had the opportunity to talk, I'm loud enough or not?
You're loud enough, all right.
Thanks, thank you. Had the nice opportunity to talk to Jasmin last week in Antwerp, in the bookshop, the colleagues in Antwerp, the Groene Waterman, where I, since a couple of years, invite writers specifically coming from your region. So I also keep a blog since 10 years already, where I put almost everything that's translating from the Serbo-Croatian, from the Albanian, and from the Slovenian on that website. So, and yes, indeed, also Rolf Schat has translated other Slovenian writers. Recently, Flisar, Ewald Flisar was translated. And I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name. This Newcomers trilogy by the famous. Yeah.
Kovacic.
Yes,
Lois
it was
Kovacic.
translated as well. So, if you are interested, there should be more translated, of course, but there is already some translated into Dutch. So you get an overview of that on the blog. Balkan Boeken. That's title. So slowly but gradually, I think we're getting there. Yeah.
It's taking over.
It's taking over.
Yes.
No, but
Yeah, they're coming over here, taking up books.
No,
Yeah.
but I agree that there are very interesting voices coming in these days from Eastern Europe, the former Yugoslav region. Unfortunately, still a region that we don't know that much and is still too much predominantly associated with all kinds of stereotypes that often mostly not have to do with literature. But there is, if you're interested in it.
Going on with, your Dutch publishing house said that, you experience a lot of not plot-driven novels coming from that region, or
more experimental.
and is there a reason for it? Is there a kind of writing education? Is there a writing school, or?
Oh, hard to say. Hard to say.
Is it like one woman or one man started it all and just paved the way?
I wouldn't say so. Maybe just like a shot in the dark, a blind guess would be maybe the situation that we had, like new independence, breakup of Yugoslavia or post-communism and stuff. Everybody started from intimism, everybody was unsure exactly how to react. We got what we wanted in political terms, so no politics. And then intimism, minimalism, kind of slow rolling, nice stories in an intimate settings. And yeah, us, the new generation that we're coming in, we're still, we're kind of getting loud again. But I don't have much.
You had a magazine?
Yeah.
And with mostly that kind of generation, right?
Yeah, mostly around our age.
Okay, and
5 years ago.
And there was something,
there's no a really common poetics. I think that's also the fact of, the consequence of the times we live in, where everyone has their own way to structure their knowledge searching and stuff like that, and also what you like to read. It's not, I think the editors, the program makers had a looser grasp on how the generation is going to perform than maybe they were used to, or because of that situation where a bunch of, we have like 3 large publishing houses, and they have a yearly program, but a lot of us just we kind of went around it and did our own thing, explored on our own. So
okay.
Yeah.
And do you experience some jealousy from from colleagues?
That's a nasty question.
They're not here, and the embassy doesn't report back.
No, it's not. It's not envy. It's just the expectations and the way that things were run. They kind of fall apart a bit, and which always brings issues to the forefront, and that's unfortunately unavoidable, but also brings a person down sometimes. Yeah.
I get it.
It happened to you?
I don't know. No, it's hard to maintain a friendship if you don't like what the other one is doing. It's hard to set apart who he is and what he does. And jealousy is a big part of it, because as a writer you're just alone, and sometimes you don't get why that person gets the recognition that he or she gets, and why not.
But writers are also like weird people in general, so
Yeah.
whenever somebody gets something, we're not gonna like it.
We're never
And
pleased.
when you do get something, it's
I'm furious with you. I don't get what you
Okay. But you
What-
read it.
I read it, but why I'm not in Slovenia,
Okay.
being asked about my stuff. I had the chance. There was once a meeting.
We have to invite.
Yeah. No, you don't.
You should come.
I want to stay at home. I had a meeting with a German publishing house, but the only books they published was from dead writers. So I had this whole conversation with an hour,
A career choice.
and they just said, "I love what you're writing, but as long as you're alive, we cannot publish you."
Take your
So
career to the
It
next
was
level.
this the weirdest kind of conversation I had. So I'm glad for you. It's a good publishing house. I mean it from the bottom of my mind.
Thank you.
You can do a lot worse. A lot worse. I'm not going to name names, but the geus, and I hope this is not a one-off. you gotta promise it's not a one-off. Even though it's poetry.
I'm not sure.
Okay, forget the poetry, but, next novel, it's gonna be smaller. Is it gonna be smaller?
It's going to be
Oh,
twice the
dear.
size.
Okay, then we'll. All right, any more questions? I know everybody's looking for the Slovenian wine. And no? Then I gotta thank, Jasmin for
Yes.
coming.
Nee, dat is ook waar.
Ja, dat zeggen ze. Ja, daar ben jij er. Thank you so much for the book. Thank you for being here. Thank you just to indulge me in this conversation. I want to thank the geus. I want to thank Passa Porta. I want to thank that guy over there. Some work you did with this stuff. And of course, everybody, thank you for coming, for listening to a book you haven't read. That's always something weird. But read it and buy it, because he needs to buy a ticket back home, and he gets 1% of every book sold.
Thank you. Thank you very much.